This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Joe Gallagher over Zoom. Joe, how are you keeping?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Good night of boxing, wasn't it?
It was a very, very good night of boxing, an entertaining night. Let's just obviously start from the top and work our way down. Whyte Povetkin, a stunning fifth-round stoppage victory for Alexander Povetkin last night. Just what did you make of the fight and obviously that stoppage?
Listen, the thing is, why we're on Zoom this morning, it's got, in a lockdown period, Eddie Hearn, after the 4 fights, it ended last night with everyone now this morning, Sunday morning, talking about the boxing, everyone's talking about boxing again, and especially the knockout and how the knockout came about. Obviously, Dillian Whyte was in control, had the 2 knockdowns over Povetkin. Everyone think it was just a matter of time, but Povetkin, huge experience, like I say, his CV says it all. And I touched on it you earlier. He's like an old Ernie Shavers, Ken Norton. You just don't sleep in that type of guy who can punch. And the way he dressed the body shot up and turned it into the uppercut. In round 1, I think he caught Dillian with a really good left hook to the body early on. I'm sure Dillian isn't going to say he felt it, but it looked like he felt it. And commentary didn't pick it up, and then every time he did try, Dillian countered well with the left hook to the body. But in that moment when he went in for it, sold him the shoulder, has always got to it, and to turn it in and the power and everything that he generated off of that front foot springing up into it, it was reminiscent of a Mike Tyson shot that had that devastating effect. Because you understand, Dillian Whyte, he was out cold, and that was just for Povetkin. We couldn't understand in the corner what he was saying, but by all the translations after he got knocked down, he was saying in the corner, "No, I'm all right." So he wasn't buzzed and on Queer Street. He had his faculties about him, and still to be able to deliver that type of shot like that was an unbelievable shot. And you've got to give huge credit to Povetkin for that. Obviously, Dillian, like you say, he's just been so close. Obviously, a lot's been made of the time he not being able to get his world title shot, but here it was, offered to him, things going swimmingly well. And like you say, you sound a bit like Alex Ferguson after the Champions League final. Boxing, bloody hell! And that's heavyweight boxing. It's just wow. You just can't take your eyes off it, can you? And like you say, now I know Dillian's we've seen asking Eddie for a rematch, and whether you get that straight away by December. I think that type of knockout just doesn't give you a 28-day suspension. It's like a 45-day suspension. So the time that's up, and I think they'll be very hard pushed to get that December. And I feel a little bit unfortunate for Alexander Povetkin. The shout going forward was from the WBC was whoever wins it gets their shot. And I think Povetkin, he was fighting for his career last night, and he came from 2 knockdowns to pull it out of the bag. And I think he should go ahead now and get his opportunity. I think if Dillian had won and Alexander Povetkin would have asked for a rematch, it wouldn't have been entertained. So I feel a little bit gutted for Dillian, but at the same time, Povetkin, he's earned his shot and he's done it the hard way. He's come over, he's fought in Eddie's back garden, he's came from behind, 2 knockdowns, and he's delivered a crib performance punch that was felt all around the world, in America, Deontay Wilder. Everyone could feel that punch and the impact that had on the heavyweight division. And I think Alexander Povetkin has earned his shot at a world title, and I think it's only right that he should be given that now.
Up until the point of the stoppage, what did you make of the fight, Joe? How did you actually see it playing out?
I think it was a very nip and tuck fight. I thought Dillian was doing well with his jab. He was landing some good shots. Obviously, he caught Alexander Povetkin with a few shots, but I thought Povetkin was landing some good work of his own as well. Like I say, early on, round 1, I think I gave to Povetkin. He landed good left hooks to the body. All the way through the fight, he was dropping the shoulder left hook to the body. He was bringing over the big, as I call it, triple G right hand, bowling it over. Dillian was onto it. He was controlling that. A couple of times he went round the glove and landed, but didn't seem to have an effect. But Povetkin was still in there and he was still punching. And okay, he got the 2 knockdowns, but let's not take away before the knockdowns the good work what Povetkin was doing in there. He was landing good jabs, good body shots. and he was very much still in the fight. Maybe I wouldn't say a lack of complacency in the corner. They were saying to Dylan, don't rush it, take your time, and they seemed to have been telling him the right things. There was no need to force it. But then at the same time, when you're there with a puncher, I think AJ said it, when he did have him hurt, it was unfortunate the bell gone, that maybe he should have gone in and gone for the finish and not let him get back into the fight. But that's a huge risk when you're doing that with Povetkin. I think one of the lads messaged in the group that someone said in the corner, he doesn't have a left uppercut. Well, that's come back to bite them on the arse there. You couldn't have been more wrong. And yeah, like I say, it was a good old, like I said to you before, Mike Dokes, Mike Weaver, Norton, Shavers, them type of heavyweights. That was a throwback to that type of fight last night, and what an explosive ending.
If you're in Dillian Whyte's position now, Joe, what do you do going forwards? I know we've ever spoke about the rematch. Is he immediately look for a rematch, or is there a psychological aspect he'll have to overcome after such a heavy knockdown?
I think, listen, Dylan's straight away, he's a fighting man. He's a fighter. He wants to get in there. He wants to put it right. In the same way, if Povetkin had lost last night, he'd want to get in there and put it right with Dillian Whyte. But the mandate from the WBC was, here's the diamond belt. The winner of this fight will fight for the world title. Just because it didn't go Dylan's way now, I don't think you should stop Povetkin having his opportunity. I think for Dylan, it's a case of go away, regroup, look at things, and come back with a meaningful fight and see where we go for there. But I do feel Povetkin should get his shot at the world title. The fight that everyone wants to see is Joshua Tyson Fury. And like you say, that's a warning for both them lads tonight, last night. AJ fighting Purewal and Tyson Fury fighting Deontay Wilder, that there's no gimmies in world boxing. And I think that's most probably, if there was a little bit of them overlooking the next opponents and looking at the fight with each other, that has most probably made them sit up and go, now we can't take our eyes off the ball against Deontay or Purewal if we've got to try and make this huge fight next year. And you've got to also remember Usyk's in the big picture. He's got a fight with Chisora coming up as well. And Derek and most will be looking at that thinking, wow, that's me. That I can upset the apple cart, and you can't bet against Derek. Derek, he's more than capable of doing that if Usyk is taking Derek Chisora. And that's what I'm saying. It's the heavyweight division at the moment. On the night, anyone could beat anyone if they're not on top of the game. And we've seen that last night. There's no complacency in these upcoming fights for any of the top heavyweights in the world at the moment.
What did you make of the corner set up last night, Joe? Do you feel it could have been any different if Dillian was still with Mark Tibbs?
Listen, I don't know what went on there with Mark Tibbs and Dillian Whyte. I'm sure Mark was absolutely gutted last night watching that. Speaking as a coach, when you've trained and you've been involved and you've gone up the ladder and you've got them there and you're nearly there and there's a parting, and then to see him go on and lose, and it's heartbreaking. I'm sure Mark was very upset last night, and he's most probably reached out to Dillian already. Whatever's gone up there, it'd be great if they could kiss and make up. But if they've gone and that's the end of it, then like you say, that Dillian, because it was very short notice, the parting, and there was only short notice to the fight, so most probably a chance for Dillian to look at the team around him, if he's happy with the team around him. Because you've got to remember, it was going well to the knockout, and maybe there is no need for any change. I know they brought Dave Coldwell in, but I didn't really see the point in that. I don't think Dave was part of the team. I don't think he was over there in Portugal. I don't think he was in part of the training camp, in the tactics or anything else. And yeah, sometimes too many cuts can spoil the broth. And I thought the advice that was given in the corner was sound advice from the lead trainer.
Just moving away from the headline fight, Joe, and moving on down. Taylor Persoon 2, again, a very, very good fight. How did you score it, though? Because he's over social media in particular, a lot of people kind of gave it to Persoon, and the judges very favourably on Katie's side. What did you have it? Well,
this is what's happened over the last few weeks, and ironically, it's in the women's boxing, isn't it? The week as well. We had Natasha Jonas and Terry Harper. Then we had
Courtney.
Ball and Courtney. So it's what you're looking for, and because it's not 3 minutes, because it's 2 minutes, and in them 2 minutes you can land 1 or 2 good clean headshots, and the judges are going right. But because the busier girls are working away, some of the shots aren't landing. The judges are going for that work. Then another week, the judges are going for, like last night, the cleaner work of Katie Taylor. Do you understand? And if the judges last night had scored for Katie Taylor, the firm Persoon for the Natasha Jonas, Terry Harper, well, Natasha Jonas won the fight 98-92. It's that type. So it's the mindset of the judges sitting down, and like I say, the judges getting used to their most will be caught on the hop as well. The scoring about, and the bell's gone on. They go, oh right, it's over before they've even got their heads round who we've got to give the round to. But listen, it was a real good fight last night. Full credit to the Fiend Persoon and Katie Taylor. Put another good scrap on last night. I don't think it was a great technical exhibition fight. I think it was a good scrap. They had to dig deep. It was to win any way they could do. Katie Taylor early on landed some great shots, stunned the Finn early on, but she was relentless. She was like a Robocop, wasn't she? She was throwing everything and anything, and whether it be uppercuts, body shots, overhand rights, switching her feet from orthodox to southpaw, so not to let Katie set. She did very well again. Katie then would come out of the clinches, landing hooks and clean shots in the chin. So it was a very hard one to score. I thought after, I think, 7, I had the Fiend 4-3 up, and then Katie came back with the cleaner work. So at the end, it was very hard to split them. You could have gone a draw, or you could have gone 1 round the Fiend or 1 round Katie. It was very much like Natasha Terry Harper. It was like what you were looking for. So, like you say, Katie Taylor won, and everyone would love to see her and McCaskill now. What a fight that would be! And it's funny, the Fiend Persoon last night, 35 years of age. Katie Taylor, 34 years of age. Natasha Jonas, a couple of weeks before, 36 years of age. There's no over the hill with these 3 fighters at the moment. And Povetkin last night, age 40. Is he 40? 39, 40? He's there's life. There's life in them yet. And like I say, it was, I think, women's boxing. It's wrong to call it women's boxing, but I have to. The 4 fights in the fight camp, well, the 3 fights in the fight camp and the Jessica McCaskill fight over in America, them 4 fights over the last 4 weeks has absolutely put women's boxing right up there, that everyone's tuning in, watching. It's delivering for drama, excitement, skill set, upsets, everything. I think it's boxing at its absolutely top there. You see the skill set on everyone and desire of everyone, and like I say, it's been a massive, we'll look back in history of these 4 weeks of seeing boxing, and especially female boxing, absolutely come right up there, where it's like now it is, as people keep saying, we shouldn't refer to it as female boxing, but boxing at its best.
We did obviously see Tasha there as well last night. And just whilst we're on the Taylor Persoon fight, just to go to Tasha, we know that she wants that Terry Harper rematch. I saw an interview with Eddie the other day where Eddie was kind of speaking about the Michaela Mayer fight and what have you for Terry. Do you think there's any chance that we will see Tasha versus Terry in a second fight, or do you think Terry's looking beyond that now?
No, I think Freddie Hearn's coming out and saying that, I think he's wrong, because he walked out that night and he said, do the rematch, definitely the rematch straight away. Very much what he said to Dylan last night. So if you've got to go and try and deliver Dylan the rematch with Povetkin, go and deliver Natasha the rematch with Terry Harper, because that's a fight everyone wants to see. Eddie said it needs to stand alone, top of the bill, whether it be Doncaster, Liverpool, Sheffield, wherever. So don't say one thing on that and then don't deliver it. And Terry Harper and Steffi Bull, you do the right thing. Give the rematch. You've seen social media. You didn't win that fight. Everyone had it a draw. Boxing News had it winning. A majority of people had it winning. So do the right thing. And if you're not going to do that, then shame on you. But Eddie Hearn promised Natasha Jonas the straight rematch, just like he promised Dylan Whyte last night. Now, if that doesn't happen, then Natasha Jonas is going to have to look at other possibilities. She may have to. They're on about Terry Harper moving down to 126. Tasha says, I'll go down 126. Wherever she's going, I'll go after her. So that's it. If not, then we might have to look at the 135 belts of Katie Taylor. Like you say, that's a good fight that could happen again now. Both profiles are very good. Natasha's is very good, coming off her world title fight that everyone thought she won. Katie Taylor last night in another great scrap. So that's a possibility. There's even a chance of Natasha going up to 140. So wherever the belts and the opportunities is, Natasha will go for it. That's what she wants, and that's what she's always wanted. Natasha Jonas wanted to fight Eva Wallstrom years ago, before Terry did and before we lost to Obanov. But Eddie or whoever wasn't got to give us that opportunity. We wanted to fight Brodetnik, who Eddie's just signed, but we weren't given the opportunity. Natasha Jonas just wants the opportunity, and when she is given the opportunity, like she was with Terry Harper, she'll deliver, and some, and that's what she wants now. She just wants the big names and the big fights.
Just to have one final word on last night's card, there's a few fights obviously on there, but just one more to touch on. Clay Congo, a terrific victory for Chris Congo in the end with that stoppage win. But what did you make of the fight leading up to it?
Yeah, listen, it was a good fight. It was a hard one to pick beforehand. It really was a hard one to pick. But I thought he may have punched himself out at one point when he was going for the finish. But he didn't. He kept his composure and he finished the fight well. It was a really good fight, and he's I still feel he's work in progress. But no, he announced himself last night in a good fight, and I was hugely impressed with the Cullen and Zach Chelly fight. That was another good fight last night as well. I thought Chelly had won that fight. Like I say, close again, but I thought Zach Chelly had just done enough. But there were good fights on the card last night. All of them, apart from the Savage. I just thought that was a give me that wasn't a no easy fights on a bill. That one, was it?
Joe, just before I let you go, obviously I have to talk to you about the WBC. WBC ordered Canelo versus Avni Yildirim a matter of a few days ago now. What did you make of that when you saw it?
Basically that, mate, to be honest. I thought, to be all honesty, I thought Callum Smith versus Yildirim was going to be made because Benavidez' mandatory was Yildirim. Then after that, then he had to fight Callum Smith. So once Benavidez had failed, thought, here we go, we're getting the Yildirim fight for the WBC title. I did always, in the past before this, always thought how Yildirim was mandatory because he's coming off a loss. And that was like 18 months ago. Callum Smith has held a version of a WBC belt now for 6 years and nearly 10 months. It was due to fight Darrell. They promised the belt would go in the tournament. It didn't. Darrell didn't go in it. So then they put the WBC Diamond belt into the tournament for Callum. Then with the promise that when he came out of it, he'd be in line to fight for the WBC belt. When we came out, then Darrell had lost, Benavidez, there was all types of politics. So in the end, it was like, well, Callum will be, after Yildirim, he'll be the next one, the mandatory challenger. So we were always looking for the Benavidez-Callum Smith fight, and the way of getting it was most probably to have gone down that route, that purse bid to be called then, once Yildirim was out of the way, for Benavidez-Callum to unify it. Then when, obviously, Benavidez, who still performed well in his fight, by the way, a good performance, for him to make Yildirim and Callum Smith, I thought, here we go, get this belt now, and then we can go after Caleb Plant or Billy Joe. But then they've made that, and like I say, Canelo, they've said now it's his franchise rights, but I can't remember hearing that when it was announced. So does that mean Lomachenko now, as a franchise, can go up and challenge Ramirez straight away? I know the WBO have that type of system in place. The former champion can come up and then be made mandatory. But yeah, the only good thing to come out of it as well is DAZN, apparently, John Skipper at DAZN and them have said that they're not going to pay for that fight. Yildirim versus Canelo, that they want a proper fight for Canelo, and that the opponent they still want Canelo to fight is Callum Smith. So yeah, obviously they've made Gilliam Canelo, but they've got to go through a purse bid situation and all that type of stuff. So that fight might not even happen until next year. In the meantime, Canelo wants to fight October, November time, and Callum Smith does, and the zone want it, and Eddie Reynoso originally wants Callum. So, like I say, fingers crossed that fight still happens.
What is the current mindset amongst you guys now? Because last time I came to see you and spoke to you guys, you all said September, early October would be ideal for you guys to get Callum back out there. Is it now kind of, is there a delay? Are you guys pushing that back, seeing if the Canelo fight does come to fruition?
Well, listen, we'll have to speak to Eddie on that. Now, at the same time, we don't cut our nose off to spite our face and go, right, all right, Canelo, you're not fighting us. We're fighting at the end of October, the beginning of October, when he might say, well, no, we'll do it at the end of October. So a bit of common sense. What we really need to do is speak to Eddie Hearn, see what he knows. I don't think really Eddie knows what's going on, what's happening at the zone. I think the people who can speak on it is really much the zone themselves, John Skipper, Eric Gomez, Golden Boy, and Eddie Reynoso at Canelo. I think that they're the ones that be able to shed light on it. So I know Eddie's been really busy with his fight camp and that. So we'll have to see if there's anything that comes from, like anything. And we wake up in the morning and we find out, it seems to be at the moment very much what ESPN Mexico or the Athletic in America or the Zone have put out. We seem to find out on social media everything that's going on at the moment over there. Obviously, there's some type of dispute over there going on from what we're reading. The Zone wanting Canelo to take less money, and there's all that going on. So, like you say, and there's rumours there, who's to say that we'll see Canelo fight at all this year. So that's got to be the case. Then we need to get up and going and fight and get out before the end of the year. Cam Smith's in the gym, is training, and so is Canelo by the looks of things.
Joe, just move away from Callum and Canelo and what have you there. Obviously, we've seen Oscar De La Hoya come out saying that he's looking at potentially making a comeback. One of many who are considering that now. What do you make of it?
Listen, Oscar was a great fighter. I think, like all of them, that they all want that one more hurrah before they retire. I think as much as we watched the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones promo, thought, I can do a bit of this, and got himself out running. But I've seen Amir Khan's put his name out there. Liam Smith says, I'll fight him out there. But I just think, personally myself, I think whatever's going on in the background, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Oscar De La Hoya versus Floyd Mayweather 2. I think that's the big money fight. The controversy from the first fight. Floyd's always looking for a big payday. I know he's doing a bit of training now with Devin Haney and Jafonte. But I think if there's money talks, I'm sure Leonard would be on the phone to Eric Gomez there. And I think that's a huge money fight. And very much years ago, we had Duran versus Leonard 3, and we had an old Leonard and Hearns, and I do feel a Floyd Mayweather versus Oscar De La Hoya 2 is a fight that would sell. If a Roy Jones, Mike Tyson would, I think that would, and I think Floyd and Oscar doing that again, I think that'd be a good fight to watch.
Final thing from myself, Joe, that I haven't had a chance to bring up. I forgot to bring up. Frank Warren reached out to Eddie Hearn, a couple of weeks ago to try and make some cross-stable fights. Just putting it out there, trying to test the water, seeing if it could work together or what could be done. What did you make of Frank's offer?
I think it's like anything. Promoters in the past, when they said we couldn't make Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, we couldn't make Mayweather versus Pacquiao, they all come together. If it makes money, it makes sense. And for boxing fans, it'd be like Real Madrid and Barcelona, and they're never ever playing each other. Do you understand? We need the best fighting the best. And Frank offering out, if it can work, and if they couldn't come to an agreement that Sky have 2 of the fights, BT have the next 2, and not only just the headline acts, but some of the prospects. Frank's got some really good prospects. Eddie Hearn's got some good prospects, and they can do the undercard as well with 2 or 3 of them fights. Do you know what I mean? You've got your main event and a chief, and on the undercard, a couple of other prospects. So, no, that'd be really good. But like I said, the standout one there, which is a Boatsy, Anthony Yard, huge fight. That'd do big numbers in London, in the O2. And like Eddie Hearn's British Beef, I'm sure that'd be a huge fight. That's the pick out of there. Then you look at Metcalf Anthony Fowler is a big Liverpool rivalry fight. That'd be a good one. There's some really good fights there, but obviously standout one is Boatsy v Yard. That's the big money fight, only because it would be huge in London. Does that make sense? And the time the Sky Machine or the BT Machine have built it up, that'd be a huge. That reminds you of the Nigel Benn Michael Watson fight that time. Both of them early in their careers. I think that's that type of fight at that time. Both win or lose could still come back and go on in the same way that Ben and Watson did.
Joe, we will leave that there now, Ben. I will leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. It's always been a pleasure to catch up with you, and I'll come to see yourself and the rest of the team soon. Thank you for your time as always, and thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, no problem, Andy. Thanks for having me.